All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the MPO Policy Committee, August 9th, 1:30 p.m. Introductions, and I'll begin on my left.
I'm Mary Jane Hall. I'm here as proxy for Sarah Ryderbrand, and I'm a member of the CAC.
I'm Penny Githens, Monroe County Commissioner. I'm here as proxy for Julie Thomas.
My name is Jeff Morris. I'm the president of the Monroe County Plan Commission.
Lisa Ridge, Highway Director for Monroe County.
Courtney Daly, Bloomington City Council, District 5.
Hi, Doug Horn with the Bloomington Public Transit Corporation Board of Directors.
Indiana Department of Transportation. Indiana University.
Thank you. And we still don't have anyone online, correct, Patrick? Correct. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Approval of our meeting agenda. I'd have to have a motion.
Of the meeting agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, roll call.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this, so I'm going to stumble a little bit. Jason Bannock? Yes. Courtney Daly?
Yes.
Doug Horn?
Yes.
Julian's not here. Chris Wallman?
Yes.
Jeff McKim's not here. Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Lisa Ridge?
Yes.
Mary Jane?
Yes.
I almost called you somebody else, I'm sorry. Dan Swafford's not here. Penny Githens?
Yes.
And April? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to item 3, approval of minutes, June 14th, 2024.
I move we approve the minutes from June 14th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any board discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Well, it's alphabetical order. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, thank you. Courtney Daly.
Yes.
Okay, Doug Horn.
Yes.
Chris Wallman.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Lisa Ridge.
Yes.
Mary Jane Hall. Thank you.
Yes.
Penny Githens.
Abstain.
Okay. And April. Thank you so much. Motion passes with one extension.
All right, communications from the chair or vice chair. I really don't have any today, and Sarah's not in. Mary Jane, did you have anything on behalf of Sarah?
CAC voted on the TIP amendments to approve the TIP amendments.
Okay.
That's the report.
All right, thank you. Reports from officers and/or committees. Mary Jane just stated the CAC had voted for the 2 TIP amendments and approved those. Do we have anything from TAC?
I'm sorry, Nate's not here. Technical Advisory Committee met and approved also the annual performance measures and recommended approval of the Transportation Improvement Program amendment for Eagleson Avenue. They also had language which they wanted added in, and I'm sorry, I don't have that with me, about the performance measures, safety performance measures, in that they would like to see the goal as being Vision Zero, or zero is the goal. instead of just adopting the measures and not saying anything. I think there was similar language that came from Citizens Advisory Committee.
Discussion.
Okay.
Thank you. I think we've had that discussion a few times in the past for all the committees, so. Reports from MPO staff. Item A.
The 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, we were past the tipping point, and we're probably approaching two-thirds of the way complete. The public survey will be, public survey will close today, 4 o'clock today. This is the link for the public survey. Thus far, I think we've had somewhere around 200 responses. Call for local safety projects. In your packet, I have a memorandum that I wrote about the call for local safety projects. This is with the Indiana Department of Transportation. The Indiana Department of Transportation will be accepting applications between September 3rd to October 11th for what are called low-cost systemic safety projects. There's a link in there on what those projects are. I think there are 21, 22 different types of projects. What they really amount to are all projects would have to be within existing right-of-way, no land acquisition whatsoever. The cost of the projects would have to be less than $200,000. So what we're talking about here is adding signage, safety signage, paint of some type or another, paint, pavement markings, combination thereof. If you can get rapid flashing beacons in for less than $200,000, there's another one that you could put in. I don't know, Chris, would you want to add anything to this?
These are quick development, low cost, quick wins to improve safety.
Okay. We encourage Monroe County and City of Bloomington, Town of Ellisville to apply for all of these projects. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll go on. Sorry, I'm not used to this role of being singular here. Okay, Indiana Department of Transportation also is conducting a public involvement survey. The link is here in the on the packet. Please complete that. It's relatively painless. It's less than 10 questions or so. Easy. In fact, if you have any suggestions for improving the survey, NDOT is open to that also. Last thing here is NDOT charging the Crossroads Partner Network. I've got a link here too, in that NDOT has awarded EV, electric vehicle charging stations, grants for charging station installation. There's one in Bloomington. I can't tell you the name of it offhand, but there is one in Bloomington. All of these are located along interstate highway corridors throughout the state of Indiana. And like I said, this is only round one. I believe it's $100 million for the round one. Round two will come sometime next year. These are all public-private partnerships. In other words, they apply for the money. They're all privately operated. All of these charging stations are privately operated. NDOT, Monroe County, City of Bloomington, MPO. We've got no intention whatsoever to ever run or own an EV charging station for the state network. Now, whether the LPAs wish to do that themselves is open to question, but that's still a long way off in terms of funding. That's all I've got, unless there are any questions.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, and for the record, Jillian has joined us, so. Seeing no old business. Moving on to new business, NDOT annual performance measures.
Okay, I'm sorry, just a second, let me scroll to that. I have a memorandum here in the packet which explains the NDOT safety performance targets are a mandatory requirement by congressional legislation. The performance targets, which are identified each calendar year by the Indiana Department of Transportation, must identify the number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. We as the MPO, we adopted the 24 numbers, the calendar year 24 numbers, just in February of this year. That's because they usually go through a multiplicative process of draft, and revisions. This year, NDOT is confident on their 2025 numbers, so therefore they're asking us to adopt these this year, this calendar year, instead of waiting until the beginning of next year. The targets are as follow. Target number 1, which is the total number of fatalities. This is statewide, and it's based on an average of fatalities over the last several years, the last 5 years, I believe it is, 857.4. The 100 million vehicle miles traveled, VMT, 910.54. The rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, 0.942. Number of serious injuries, 3,232. The rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, 3.549. And the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, these are statewide, 432.2. Now, I also included in here performance fact sheet from the Federal Highway Administration. How do the states go about identifying these numbers? What's the methodology? What are the requirements for reporting? What do MPOs need to do to establish targets? And in Indiana, every MPO has always 100% adopted whatever the Department of Transportation has projected. Up there on the screen and in your packet, we're showing the numbers. And if you look closely at calendar year number 25, the total number of fatalities, it represents a 2% reduction. In other words, NDOT is projecting a 2% reduction in fatalities statewide in calendar year 25. They're also projecting 2% reduction in serious injuries statewide. And finally, they're projecting a 2% reduction in non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries statewide. The reason for this is there's a requirement that all the states, instead of following the state line trend, which has always been up and up and up, all the states are under a requirement right now to find reductions, and the Department of Transportation is confident they will find reductions through the investment of low-cost, safety, systemic type of projects, where they will be focusing not only on improved signage, but also on reductions of speed zones and speed limits in certain state highway system networks locations. And they're also looking at what I would call bigger picture type of things, such as right-sizing the roadway. We used to call it downsizing, but the term they're using is right-sizing the roadway. In other words, taking the travel lanes, if it's a 14-foot wide travel lane, reducing it down to 12-foot, and adding in bicycle lanes or pedestrian lanes or sidewalks or something like that. There are funds for doing this, and the Department of Transportation is fully committed to these reductions. Now, I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Jillian?
Thank you for this report. I mean, I have questions about this every year, like I know several members have raised before regarding these numbers. And the the expectation and the act that all metropolitan planning organizations simply adopt these targets. And, as we've talked about before, I think there are several of us who say these targets for fatalities or any sort of injury should be 0. And that's what I would suggest is the proper target for this, but knowing that there are reasons why they aren't 0. But to me, it just seems, I just want to point out again some of the absurdity of this, of appearing to accept fatalities of, 857. We can do better. And I guess I had 2 questions associated with this then. Have any metropolitan planning organizations set their own targets? And I know you said that all adopt, but have any set internal targets or taken any action to set different targets? And then, are there consequences for failing to achieve a 2% reduction? Are there any consequences for that?
Let me answer the second one first. The consequences, yes. There's a penalty in that if they do not meet their targets, then penalty funds will be assessed in terms of taking funding away from the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program projects, and those funds would then be redirected to safety projects. So yes, there is one there. It wouldn't be a net loss of funding, it would just be a reallocation of funding instead of capacity building or new roadways or new facilities or anything like that. The money would go towards safety as the first priority. So that's the first one. Second one, there is the option, every MPO in the state of Indiana and also the United States can adopt their own numbers, but those would have to be statewide numbers. In other words, we, the MPO here, would have to project statewide numbers, and we would also have to produce a methodology which would show empirically that what our logic is. We're not really capable of doing that. We could do that with consultant assistance, and no MPO in Indiana has ever done that simply because of the burden of trying to do that. What we're doing is we're taking the word of the experts at the Indiana Department of Transportation who have been doing these, the professional traffic and operations engineers who have been doing this for decades, 2 decades, 3 decades. I'm trying to think, Mike's been doing it 4 decades or something like that. Mike Holowati, the Director of Traffic Safety for NDOT. So they're using their best methodology. Now, I'll share with you the methodology that they were using before was highly correlated with employment. In other words, when employment rate was at a certain level, people had a higher propensity to drive. And with that higher propensity to drive, there was a higher propensity for potential crashes, total crashes, serious injuries, and fatalities. The 2020 pandemic and 2021 still recovery from the pandemic blew that model up. So instead, they're looking more at what I would call statistical modeling in that they're trying to fit the numbers. And you can see with the chart here, they're going all the way back to 2012, even though the methodology for recording crashes in the state of Indiana through the state police system changed in 2013. But still, they're going back that far. And so what you're seeing now is more of what I would call an average smoothing type process with, I wouldn't call it best guess, but I would call it empirical knowledge based on the staff. So that's a long answer to your question, but I hope that answers or gives you an idea of how they come about deriving the numbers.
Yes, it does. Thank you for answering the question. The fact sheet, though, I thought was really interesting. I don't know if I didn't notice this when we approved the 24 information.
To you before.
Okay, all right, okay, good. So,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, I thought it was new information, and I rather liked the very straightforward presentation. And I thought the section on if an MPO establishes its own HSIP target, the MPO would, and then there were a series of bullets identifying what would need to happen. And to me, that it seemed, I thought the exercise in and of itself would be interesting to think about for our own community and what that would mean. So I don't want to carry out or ask anybody to carry out needless exercises that won't result in any effect, but I just wonder if we were to look at the segments of the INDOT-related motorways, if we could calculate something that we could monitor on our own to see what the impact is. I mean, I realize, state highways are it's not like there's a lot of change. Nobody knows necessarily when they're driving through where they are, but I think there's some interesting work that could be done to think about this at a local level.
Well, we are. Behind the curtain, we have a crash dashboard, GIS crash dashboard that we've been working on for 4 months. It's not ready for prime time yet. Engineering department and the planning department can review it, but it's not ready for prime time because we have flaws in the data that we receive from the state police in that some of the locations are misidentified or not identified at all, where it may not have a location, it may not have a GPS location, and some may represent best estimate of where a crash occurred or something like that. Or it occurred on private property, which we don't care about. If it's private property, that's the private property owners, not ours. What we're interested in are crashes within the roadway right-of-way itself. And what we will unveil probably, this fiscal year, which will be calendar year 2025, we'll be unveiling a goal of Vision Zero, where vision is the goal for the MPO, but that's with the approval of the policy committee and the technical committee and the citizens advisory committee. I mean, we're working on that behind the scenes, but first we're trying to organize the data. Since 2020 was an anomalous year, we're working on 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. In other words, 6 years worth of data to get what I would call a more normalized picture. And then from that, we should be able to estimate or reasonably estimate projections of what we would expect if under the do-nothing scenario of fatalities and serious injuries, and also what I would call bicycle pedestrian injuries and fatalities. I think over the last 6 years we've had 12 fatalities, but I didn't check to see which one of those were on INDOT facilities or local facilities. I think the majority were on INDOT facilities, but I know we've had some on the local level.
Thank you for reminding me about the crash dashboard. We saw a little bit of that in the past, I remember, and the Vision Zero project is really important, so thank you.
Yeah, we took, if it looks a lot like Indianapolis, there's a reason for that. We took a lot of their ideas and we've got it behind the scenes, but it's a big lift because we have to geocode every link segment and every intersection in the entire urbanized area, and we're restricting it to the urbanized area instead of all of Monroe County, so that way we can focus in on a constant data area to measure improvements as we go along. And Lisa, I don't know if you do this. I know in the engineering department here at the City of Bloomington, they always do what I would call a post-action. In other words, if they make a correction or a modification at a certain location, they always follow up for at least 2 to 3 years to see if it's really successful or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. We do our annual 3-year crash data. We follow it. It's a great tool for us when we make those improvements. we go back, we monitor that, see how it's improved, if we can make it at other locations. Just anything we can do, look at, get with LTAP, new ideas. There's some, intersection conflict warning systems right now that are being used in other areas to help with sight distance, which we have a big problem with in rural community. So, yeah, we use everything that we can possibly use and then go back and see if it's an improvement, where else can we use that same type of improvement.
I know that was a long answer again, but yeah, I want to let you know that we're moving behind the scenes, and we will come out with some sort of a Vision 0, 0 is the goal, sometime after January of next calendar year of 2025.
Thank you. Any other board comment, questions? Any public comment? No, I guess we need a motion for this, correct?
Yes, please.
All right. This is with great reluctance. I will motion to adopt calendar year 2025 INDOT and Indiana MPO safety performance targets.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any board discussion? Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Alphabetical order. I'm sorry. Jason Bannick. Yes. Courtney Daly.
Yes.
Doug Horn.
Yes.
Jillian Kinsey.
Yes.
Chris Wallman.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Lisa Ridge.
Yes.
Mary Jane Hall.
Yes.
Penny Githens.
Yes.
April. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item B, 2024-2028 TIP amendment.
Sorry, we have just one TIP amendment. This is Monroe County's application for the Eagleson Avenue Bridge over the Indiana Railroad. There was a large addition here of right-of-way acquisition funding. Projects increased from substantially, I'll just say substantially, $6 million. Funding for this will come from INDOT's local bridge project money. All the work that will be done on this project will be done by force account agreement with the Indiana Railroad itself. If there are any questions, Lisa can fill you in.
I guess I'm just here. Oh, go on, please. Doug, go ahead.
Who are we purchasing right-of-way from?
We are just now entering the right-of-way acquisition portion. I believe IU is the owner around that bridge.
Okay, was there a change of design that caused additional need for this right-of-way? Or?
So, no. This actually began as an NDOT project at 100%, which is why they have funded the design of the bridge out of their funding. And then on the right-of-way, Monroe County is the owner of the bridge at this time. And so we kind of did this exchange on some projects and funding on other projects. In exchange, we took over the local portion of the right-of-way acquisition of this project. So it went from the 100% in design, now it's to the normal 80-20 in right-of-way. So the county was agreeing to take over that 20% cost. And actually, we stepped up to help NDOT be the project manager of the project because they could not do it in with the way the funds are set up, the county needed to run the project and assist in that. So it was kind of a collaboration with Monroe County and NDOT to be able to get this bridge replaced.
Thank you.
Does that explain a little bit more? Any other questions or comments on this amendment? We would need a motion on this as being an action item also.
To, is it approve the Bloomington Monroe County Metropolitan Planning Organization FY 2024-28 TIP amendment for DES number 2200146 Eagleson Avenue Railroad Bridge?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Alphabetical order again. Jason Bannock. Yes. Courtney Daly.
Yes.
Doug Horn.
Yes.
Chris Woolman.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Okay. Lisa Ridge.
Yes.
Mary Jane Hall.
Yes.
I almost said it. Sorry. Penny Githens.
Yes.
Okay, and April? Okay. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, did you get me in there too?
Oh,
Pat?
Jillian,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
God.
well, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Yes, Jillian Kinsey.
want to make sure it's unanimous.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My fault.
All right, any public comment on matters not included on the agenda? Any communications from committee members on matters not included on the agenda? Communications or topic suggestions for future agendas? All right, upcoming meetings. Policy Committee will meet on September 13th at 1:30. Technical Advisory Committee will meet August 28th at 10 a.m. Citizens Advisory Committee will meet August 28th at 5:30 p.m. All these meetings are available on hybrid. And I will move for an adjournment.